of us, the neighbors, that went there and talked to them. They did put that little glass out there, so, but you can't see anything. The car is gonna hit you when you come out of that block. And they have no parking. They said they wouldn't tell their customers they couldn't park on that street, but somebody definitely is going to get killed. I transport my great-grandkids to and from daycare, and I'm scared to come out of that block because you can't see. It's not just customers, it's they're parking their cars there too, and you can't see. And they park in our block also, while they're at work for 8 hours.
Mark, you sent me a letter about that, 'cause I heard that several times.
About
the two places right on Main,
Yeah.
you think?
And I driven past there the last week too.
That Ed's place,
These
whatever?
guys, yep. Stop me.
Oh, did you want to say it?
No, it amounts about speeding.
Oh, all right, yeah, that's just Shirley Park. That's a whole nother issue. Ms. Brown?
Paula Brown, 206 Highland Avenue. I hear what everybody's saying, and I've been hearing this for 10, 15 years. This is a problem that has been festering. We have the ordinances on the books. We have the no commercial vehicles parking on the streets, but we don't enforce it. The signs, the excuse that we were given before was we can't enforce it because there's no signs. So buy the signs. Buy the signs and post them. It's not the police department's fault. It's not the borough manager's fault. You don't have employees to do the job. Now, if you want to do parking permits personally, I don't agree with the parking permits only because I was here when Lansdowne was the first town to put in parking permits, and they did it years ago to keep the black people from Philly out of Lansdowne, and that's exactly why it happened. What you need is a parking enforcement officer. Somebody who is there every day, just like media and every other town, and they go around and they ticket. That generates your funds, okay? And the tickets have to be written, the X's have to be painted, and it has to be enforced every day consistently. If you don't enforce it consistently, people are going to continue to violate that. You have to consistently enforce your commercial vehicle ordinance. I got a Wonder Bread truck parked on my street again, you know? And speaking of used car lots, Jewel Auto Sales at 77 or 76 Chester Pike.
We don't have to give it, we.
No, I'm going to talk about it because it's going to get someone killed. Now, you're aware of it because I've been bringing it up at council meetings for years.
Can I address like some of that, if you don't mind, ma'am? Because I don't want to get too far ahead and I'll be going for 10 minutes. Because you said about 10 different things. So I'm going to clear up some of them just to let you know what some of the facts. It's a commercial vehicle ordinance. That's the reason why we're here today. Again, because
You have it.
hear me out. Commercial vehicles today are not the same as commercial vehicles are yesterday. That's where I get where you're coming from about 10, 15 years ago. But I just spoke about, I don't know if I said that up here, I don't know if I said it over there with these guys, I'm not sure. But I mentioned just earlier that there's people in our area that have 3 cars, and 2 of them have New York plates. They're doing that just strictly for Uber, but they're taking them apart. So this whole commercial ordinance that's in place, that was put in place 25 years ago, you know, because you were one of the people that put it in there, it's just antiquated. That's the issue.
It goes by tonnage. It doesn't go by vehicle.
I know, but
it goes by tonnage.
I totally get you, but unfortunately, we have to rewrite all of it because it's just too antiquated. That's really what it is. Because cars are a lot different, like Verizon truck, where we had the guy parked a Verizon truck. At the end of the day, that's a commercial vehicle. It is what it is, but if somebody has a placard on the side of their car, but ABC...
Darren, the ordinance goes by tonnage. Did you read the ordinance?
I did, but what I'm saying
What's
is
the
that
tonnage?
You're not listening, man.
What's the tonnage?
We're not going to do that. That's what we're not going to do. We're not going to do everything.
Yeah, come on.
We're not going to do it.
We
What I'm
gotta hear
saying is
everybody.
that we have to rewrite this to reflect the way the times are today. That's where I'm getting at. That's the first part. That's the commercial vehicles aspect. The no signs piece, that's something, unfortunately, I do not know with every sign of where they were. That's a fact. Unfortunately, it is what it is. No one's going to know exactly where every sign is. That's why I say we have to communicate better as a community. Say, if somebody knocked the sign down, call the borough and let us know. We'll put a new sign up. But these guys are just not, no one is equipped enough to stand there and somebody say, oh, the sign went down, put this up. It happens. It's like the same thing at the corner of your block, actually, with the curb your dog sign. That, which is faded. So we just put a new sign up. They still don't follow the sign. But it's like, but you understand where I'm getting at. Like, what you just got to communicate that. You got to communicate. So these are things that we're gonna work on. I want to make sure employees to do the job. You're right. You're 100% correct. That unfortunately, you cannot just hire people just to do parking ordinance if you don't have an ordinance to actually follow. So we got to have a decent ordinance, and that's the next step. That's later on. Unfortunately, you got to follow the process. I want to make sure I got all your stuff. And this is not to generate funds by any stretch. It's something that I did not mention earlier, is that with the parking ordinance, a lot of people have driveway problems in the back. If we take any money from this, we talked about this before as a council, and it's been talked about in public sessions as well before COVID. Unfortunately, it happens. But that money is to fix people's driveways. It's not to generate funds to do that. It's to fix people's driveways, because people just need help. So that's the reason why this the whole thing with this parking thing came about. Well, I get you, but it's that's not going in place. But that's what I'm saying. This is something that we're talking about.
He's just giving a sample of what the
Give me an example. Sorry, I'm not going. If that's, I didn't want to turn this. This is a statement. I want to hear what people. I want to hear people. You already missed your turn, man. I'm sorry, but we'll come back to you. Once we get through the room, we'll come back to you. Is that okay? But this is something that we all need to come together to figure out a decent ordinance for us to come up with to have teeth. But this is not, obviously, the people in this room is not the problem. It's the people that's outside of the room that's alienating us as a community. That's the reason why I'm asking these questions, so I appreciate you. X's painted, we did repaint the X's. Can you get a little bit more specific about where the X's are, so we know?
Okay, so
I do think these guys out, the highway department does get out to do that.
you're down to 3 highwaymen. So
Well,
they're doing their
This
job.
is parking.
They're doing their job. The X's are on the corner, up in the park. They're all over the town, in front of driveways.
Can you send an email? You have all our email addresses. Can you send an email saying exactly what corners there, so we can actually address those issues?
Okay, but your highway department has a list because they paint them. The problem is you're down to 3 employees, and they can't do it.
Ma'am, this is not about the highway department.
Well, it is about the parking, and in order to enforce that, you need the proper amount of employees.
Anyone else?
I'm not finished. I still have other issues.
Because you're talking about something that's not.
I'm talking about parking.
So just keep it to parking.
Okay, that's what I've been talking about. People have problems with these businesses. You approve non-residential occupancy permits, and on those non-residential occupancy permits, there's a certain amount of parking spaces that is allowed for a business, and that business is only allowed to use that many parking spaces. A case in point, Jewel Auto Sales. They are not allowed to, any business, they're not allowed to have their cars, especially auto sales. They're not allowed to have their cars on our streets. They have to be on their lot. The parking spaces are only allotted for their customers.
Ma'am,
Can I finish, Darren? You didn't interrupt anybody else.
Because you're taking a lot of time. That's why.
Well, these are issues that you called attention to. Parking, and this is the problem. So you want the answer? You've got to enforce your non-residential occupancy permit. You have to go to that business. That place on Main Street that Sonia's talking about is horrible. It's a health hazard. Their stuff is all 5th and Main.
Yes.
Fifth and Main, and Phoebe Nardi's old place. It is disgusting when you walk by it.
We addressed
And
that already, man. We talked
but
about
you have to go to them
Well, we're
and
not
pull
gonna do
their,
that right
you
now.
gotta pull their non-residential occupancy permit. You have to cite them. You need more code enforcement officers to do it. Mark can't do it all by himself.
This is not a grandstand debate here.
This is not a grandstand meeting. We're trying to address these problems that you've had for years.
Parking, we discussed that already, man. I hate to sound like this, but we definitely discussed that. And we already, actually, in fact, you weren't in the room at the time, come to think of it, is that we.
Did you address not NROs and pulling them?
So if you want to, I don't want to talk about a specific business, but I will in this instance.
Oh, I will.
In the last, I would say, 6 months or so, there's no parking in front of that building for that reason. We heard you. We did it. We're doing it. There's no parking in front of Jules Auto Sale.
Do you know they still do every day?
When did they do that? How long ago?
They pull in sideways. They drop off
I
wrecks.
want to make sure we get this. This is to do with the facts. We're not going to sit there and yell and scream.
Oh, these are facts. I got pictures. I sent them to Mark.
We're not going to do that.
It's probably almost at the beginning of the year, maybe even actually at the end of next year.
So
the end of last
that
year.
was addressed. I mean, if they're parking still on the street, we'll address that. Done.
Every
On to the
day,
next one.
somebody's going to get killed. You can't see
I
out.
really pray that no one
They
does.
double and triple park. It's a car sales place. They drop off wrecks. They're doing body work in there. This is your department.
But there are other people who need.
You have to enforce your NRO rules.
You don't know either. Like, so what I'm saying is, to stick to the parking, man. That's my point.
That's parking, Darren.
Okay, and with something we already
Go ahead.
addressed, I'm trying to figure out how can we address it.
Go.
Man,
Go.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate you. Thank you for your time.
No, you don't.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
So I'm Donna Roberts, I'm on Park Lane, 1300 block of Park Lane. My issue is school parking. So every year, I've been there 30 years, I'm the block captain for the block for the same 30 years. And every year I do address that with the school, whoever the superintendent is. Usually we can make something work. This year, with the pandemic, you have a lot of people that are home, people are working at home, and so the residents do need to be able to.
Sorry, it's hard to hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. So the residents do need to be able to park on the block. I have gone over to the school principal and spoken to her. I've had emails here. I've spoken to Joyce Hopkins about that with, and the school superintendent, who advised me, oh, and actually they told me to come today to this meeting to bring it up, and why don't you take it up with the police? Our issue is that we have a parking lot for school officials right there at the corner, and all the school staff can park in there. As the residents, we do not park in that parking lot. And as the block captain, I do make sure that every member on the block gets a letter, and we ask them, do not park in the school parking lot. They abide by that. With us working at home, we're not able to park on the block because the school staff are all parking on the block and not utilizing the parking lot that is there. So our issue is, what do we do at this point that we have taken it up with the school superintendent, we have taken it up with the, different people at the school, and I have the email from the principal and the superintendent sending that email to her, asking them to address that with the teachers, and it hasn't been taken care of.
I want to make sure I get this right. So it's right across the street. I know that. So the teachers are still parking there?
So the teachers are parking on the block. They refuse to park in their parking lot because they don't want to walk up the hill to go to the school. And so we're not parking in the parking lot, but the residents being home, they're not able to park on the block. You can't go to the store and come back, and then you've got everybody deciding to get a personalized handicap parking spot that they got somebody to pay for them or whatever on the block. So, I had knee replacement myself, but I come out, and if I go to the store and come back, you just cannot park on the block.
I believe your area, Park Lane, is the only one that I found in digging up old ordinances. Is that it's the only one that actually is non-commercial parking. There's actually a sign out there too. I don't know if you guys know. It's an old ordinance that's been in place for a long time. It's something I'm gonna look into. I thought it was. I called myself And they were supposed to send that letter off to all the teachers to actually adhere to. That's why I asked you this last week.
Yeah, and I had,
That's what
you know,
they did.
Joy said that they were gonna send something
Yeah.
out, and then the superintendent said we're gonna send something out, and I spoke to Mrs. Ambrosia, and if she's an offender, then of course the teachers are gonna be offender because
Sure.
she's a principal. And if you do park there, when I had the conversation with her, she said, I don't live around here.
Yeah, they
So
should-
I don't
they
live
should
on
use a
this
lot.
block.
I think she used a lot. What I'm gonna do is myself, I'm gonna call the superintendent myself. I'm gonna do that myself, and I'm gonna let them know that you don't want us.
Well, they gave them 48 hours to resolve it according to the
That
email,
was
but it
last week,
hasn't
right?
been
That was last week.
taken, yeah, it hasn't, they're still parking there.
So that's supposed to be resolved. So I'll definitely reach out to the superintendent. And I'll call you directly to let you know what the process is, because I think it's above board at this point. Like, you're supposed to do that, because we live. here.
Yeah, because they have the parking lot there, so they can
Absolutely.
park
She
in
is.
the,
I agree.
they can park in the parking lot.
Was that's that one issue?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it with
Cool.
our,
I'm on it.
block, we don't have any
Yeah,
vehicles
I'm on
parked going
If
there
you
or
got my
anything
number,
like
you
that.
know how to, I'll contact you in the next few days. I'm
I
gonna call them
appreciate
tomorrow.
that, thank you.
Sorry, sir.
Yes, good evening, sir, and everyone. I think I should start
Your
off
name,
by,
sorry.
my name is Kevin Murphy. I live 307 Marks Avenue. Myself and my family, long before me, we've been out here. Well, my grandfather was born in 1894, and he got that house on Marks Avenue in his 60s, and he lived to be 88 years old. So my family's been out here a long time. Not only did I raise my children out here, I've raised my grandchildren out here in that same home. I realize that this is primarily about parking, and I need to be honest. I am going to talk about parking, but I do have an agenda, and I believe it's important for me to be above board. When I'm listening to all the discussion around parking, and one question I want to ask you is, and you're going to see where I'm going. With these lots and plots out here in Darby, I don't know how many there are, I don't know what the number is, but my question to you is there some way that some of these lots that are not being used, whether they are too small to build a house or a business on, is there any way that some of these lots could be developed for off-street parking for some of the folks who are struggling with this? That's just a question.
That's a good point. It's a good point. It's a very good point.
We have a lot of
That's a very good point. The first time I heard somebody say, I just didn't think about it, I appreciate that.
Well,
It's something
like,
that I'm putting,
okay, well, like I said, I do have an agenda, and it's important for me to be above board.
sure.
Part of my reason for asking that is I have here in my hand paperwork that I've had for over 20 years. And I had gotten it first printed out by Tommy Judge, who was in media. And I don't believe really, I'm not really into party this or party that. What's important to me is, are the public servants really doing what they're supposed to do instead of talking a lot of game? If I don't know anything else, I know game. And whether they're politicians or whether they're in the pulpit, I know game.
Yeah.
So I've heard a lot of that for over 20 years. And part of this is, some of this paperwork here is what I got from Tommy Judge in 2006. I had a discussion with you and a number of other people over the years about the lot that is next to my house on Marks Avenue. I have paperwork in here that where it was filed with Tommy Judge for me to either purchase that property or get it some type of way. And just before I got it, let me say this. I'm not the most politically appropriate guy. Herbie Blackston the crook did his best to stick me up about that. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but I'm saying it anyway, because that's just who I am. Tommy Judge was a really great guy. He was a good guy with integrity. And he tried to work it out so I could either purchase that property or get it, pay for the deed. Herbie got in the way and intentionally worked everything over these years to make sure I couldn't get it. And I didn't just want it to have it. I raised my grandchildren and my children there. And in that area, there are people who are doing drug deals. There's all kinds of stuff running in and out of there. And I don't own the property, so I can't stop anybody. And it's right next to my home. You've seen my home. You've seen what I've done with it. You even came in my home. So you see what I do. You know, I'm not trying to edify myself, but I love Darby. And I love Marks Avenue. And to have the opportunity to continue the legacy that my grandfather started. And when I go, hopefully my children and grandchildren will have it. I'm not going to live forever. But look, let me hurry this up, because I know I have to be mindful of the time. But this is where I'm going. I've spoken with you recently. I've spoken with Janice. I spoke with Dial over the years. I spoke with Chief Smythe. Even he tried to help me. But for some reason, someone has stood in the way. I'm not asking anybody to give me nothing. I pay for what I get.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I get that property, I'm going to make it into something, and it'll be safer, because anyone who's on my block, like Hank's on my block, he knows what's there. Al has been seeing it for years. Anyone who's been here, they know what that is. It's not about trying to edify myself or aggrandize myself, but I'm talking about the safety of not only my home, but our community. I've been getting a lot of promises and talk over 20-something years. And I feel, I'm not stating this as fact because I can't read anyone else's mind, but I feel as though I'm hearing a lot of game. And no one, we're in the process and it's going to happen and I'm talking to these people and they're going to do that. I have yet to see or hear anything concrete that gives me any confidence that any of these folks I've spoken to are telling me the truth.
Amen.
I've said enough, but so I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank the folks in here for indulging me to say what I needed to say.
It'll be unfair if I do not address that comment.
Pardon me?
It'll be unfair if I don't address that comment to everyone here, because I appreciate the fact that you said. That's why I say, hey, we're talking about parking per se and all that kind of stuff. Because I looked you in the eye and stood in your living room, and I said, I'm gonna do everything, and it is not something but lip service. Because I called that guy, and he would tell you, unfortunately, it's a lot of red tape. There's other people properties that we have rectified over that time too. And this is 3 weeks ago when I talked to you. Maybe it was 2.5 weeks, whatever.
It's been a little. It's around that time.
Yeah,
You're right.
3 weeks or so.
You're right about the time frame.
Just bear with it, because everything is not done in this incident. And all the stuff that happened in the past, I'm not going to sit there and talk about Herbie Blackson because he did a lot for this community. He did a lot for
I'm not saying he hasn't, but he's still
cooking.
cooking.
So I will never say that.
It's okay. Look, you didn't say it, I did.
Yeah, I know, yeah, let me say I would never. I want to make sure because people like the videotape stuff.
Oh, no, it's me.
Yeah, but
It's
I would
me.
never do that.
Kevin Murphy said it.
Yeah, I never say that.
It wasn't Darren Burrell.
Yeah, it was.
Kevin Murphy said it.
This all transpired
I can handle it.
way before I was on council.
No, you had nothing to do. I can handle it.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody knew that. Like,
Not a problem.
But you and I would get together.
I stand by what I
said. We're
said.
gonna get together too, because we're gonna talk. I don't want to put your business out in the street. I don't do that. But sorry, anyone else in that row? about parking?
Nope, you got that wrong.
Let's see, that's it. Next row. We got one more after this. Next row. Any parking
Jay, you wanna
concerns?
say anything?
Now, for parking, some neighbors,
Sorry, your name.
Terrence Davis,
Which block are you on?
230 Weymouth Road. Now, some people have 6 cars to one house, so you can imagine what it is parking.
Cars in the pickup truck.
7 cars in a pickup truck. There you go.
We live on the same block, 7 cars in the pickup truck.
Not to be a dead horse, but we talked about that issue extensively.
All right, now, it got so hectic, everybody's trying to get 2 cars behind their house, making it that their neighbor cannot park behind their house because there's not enough room. So everybody is stacking up cars straight and not on an angle, so the trash truck can get by. So everybody's, is just doing it because there's no parking out front.
Yeah, can I piggyback on Ms. Davis, because we all live on the same block. We all live on the
It's
same
up to
block.
him, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, you can piggyback. Go ahead.
Not only that, now we have a house that wanna make a parking lot in their yard.
Can we talk after this meeting so we get the
And I
address?
can tell you address, it's 253. Right across the street on the corner, black door, corner house.
That's right, call it what it is.
Let me tell you something, I don't care, nobody walking around here.
Well, I'm just trying to
Call
protect
it
you.
what it is.
It's,
I'm not
So-
tiptoeing around nothing.
so we'll get to that.
And here's the thing, I also respond as a first responder, and a lot of times the way they park, I'm the deputy fire chief in Darby Township. So I leave out of my house in the middle of the night to go fight fire.
No, I didn't catch your name either.
Charles Wynn,
Okay.
to go fight fire. I come back, I don't have a parking spot. Or they have a bunch of cars sitting there and they don't wanna move them.
Yeah.
One of these days, I'm just gonna decide to drive up on the lawn and just run everybody over.
It's not what I want you to do. It's not.
Being honest.
So, again,
I got a portable in my car.
You do get worked up.
you know what, that's not what we're gonna do.
Well,
We're
he'll
gonna
be
look
the
for
first one there to respond.
We're gonna look for solutions. Now, there's some stuff that's an easy solution. That's an easy. I mean, I'm not, because we have
I'm
stuff.
gonna tell you an easy solution. With those X's on the corner and they park all along them X's. We have an entity that they've been using for years. It's called enforcement towing. Tow them. That's right. Tow them. You ain't gotta ride them ticket. After they get towed about 3 or 4 times, I guarantee
They'll
they
do
won't park
something
there
different.
again.
Mr. Wayne.
Enforce
You know
it.
the first time I heard this meeting, heard that about Waymo, is today. That's no, you missed this, you came in later, and we talked about this before, is that you guys gotta let us know. You like, if my phone number is on the website for a reason, that's my personal cell phone number. I don't even do 2 cell phones for work, this is you can call me or text me 24/7, and that's there for a reason. So, that's what I'm saying, so knowing that, it will get addressed.
All you gotta do is call up Larry, Kenny Green, say, hey, I got one.
But I wanna move it along, because we're definitely, Mr. Wayne, I
What,
got you.
$175 a day?
I got you. I got the issue. I got you.
Could Darby send out a letter to some of the residents about parking the cars like that in the back, where the neighbor being so inconsiderate for the neighbor next to him that they can't get in,
I'll
and
make sure that
everybody's
happens.
going double, and there's no parks out front. At least let me have the right to park behind my own house.
Yeah, somebody parked in my own driveway. I get it.
Yeah, we have a driveway.
But I'm just saying, like, I get where you're coming from. That will get addressed. That's, I don't want to belabor the point. I don't want to take up everybody else's time.
Okay.
It's not fair for everybody else
Okay,
not to
you
get
go,
time
move on.
for that.
My name is Aaron Anthony, 300 North Avenue. I'm an ex-employee of the borough, been here 30-plus years, highway foreman. I've seen it all. I've seen it all. The parking, all the other issues we won't get into, but the parking. Before I go further, is this a police committee meeting or? I just want to know what type of meeting I'm sitting into, just a community meeting?
Yeah, just a community meeting just to hear about the parking issues so we can possibly draft, so I can take this back to
So,
council.
yeah, so
and
all
talk
the
about it.
issues, we need to give it to you, and then you'll take it back to
Absolutely,
the
because
police.
during a council meeting, it's very difficult, I'll be honest, it's very, very difficult to get everyone to speak their voice. So that's the reason why we
I understand,
pull it out,
but
so we
there
can
is
discuss
committees
this
though,
about
right?
this specific.
But
not
there is a
committee
police
meeting.
committee.
No, it's just community
Oh,
meeting to
okay.
hear about parking.
Being that said, I'll let that go. But, about the parking, my understanding was if there isn't a commercial vehicle sign on every street, you cannot enforce the law. Is that true?
And again, I'm not an attorney, our attorney did not show up tonight, but I don't have that answer. I don't wanna ask lawyer questions.
Alright.
That's not,
So that's what, no more, and back to what he was saying about we have in this town what's called enforcement towing. Years ago, I retired in 2008 from the borough. We had that problem before I retired and after I retired. And it's gonna continue. But before I retired, enforcement towing became very vigilant and was towing vehicles where they weren't supposed to be. That was, and I don't see why that stopped.
you know, it didn't stop, we definitely do tow vehicles. How many vehicles did we tow last month?
I'm missing my block. Because they got cars up in there
They tow two
for
of them.
months at a time, leaking oil. People doing all
Well, just
kinds of stuff.
bear, sorry, yeah, unfortunately, you definitely,
Yeah, let me
I'm not gonna
finish.
take everybody else's
Yeah,
time.
Chief was gonna answer your question.
Yeah, just wait for the answer.
If we bearing all these years, why
But
we here?
ma'am, I don't want, sorry, I think,
I'm not being
I
rude.
just needed
I'm
the
not being
answer
rude,
on
but I'm
that.
saying it's the same
You brought it
issues,
up
and nobody's
about how many
addressing
was towed.
sure.
I mean, that wasn't even really a question.
I forget how many it was.
Yeah, that wasn't even really a question of how many was towed. We just know that they are,
They definitely,
they're,
certainly.
they're active. And I get that, okay. That I get.
But the problem has exponentially grown over the years. We do know, we understand that. We totally get that. We're on your side with that.
My thing is what changed.
It's just, what changed is the quality
No, meaning
of
that, yeah,
people
the
that's coming in
quality
to
of life
stop
in
in cars,
Darby
not
would
caring about our
change.
community. That's the problem. I'm just gonna be honest, that's the problem. Is that these people come to our community and they really don't care about
I
our
thought you
community.
was talking to me.
That's where we're addressing. That's the reason why I want to teach again.
Darren,
Darren,
I
you
thought
gotta
you
stay
was
with
talking
Mike.
to me.
Sorry, see,
Yeah, okay,
it's-
and I'm
man, sorry.
now, the thing is, we're talking, you was bringing up this permit parking. Is this town really built for permit parking? Because I recall working here, maybe back in, before 2000, they was talking about that back then. It doesn't work. It works on some streets, but doesn't work for everybody else. How are you gonna do that in Park Lane? How are you gonna do that on 10th Street?
Sure,
How are you gonna do that on 9th Street?
that's what we're
You
trying
know,
to figure out.
I mean, we have back drives, and I get that. And I get that, because when we were plowing, when I was working and we were plowing, we couldn't get through the streets because of the abundance of cars. Mark knows that. Mark was the borough manager back when I was working. So, you know, I'm just, you know, just bringing up the issue about, you know, we really need to think. You know, think hard
I
on
agree.
permit parking. You really need to really think about that, number one. Number two, the commercial vehicles. That is a real big issue. It's a real big issue because right now, on Summit Street, I live on Marks, we got those triaxles running up and down, coming from what's going on there next to the school. I still don't know what they're putting there. We're not even discussing, but I'm just saying, these trucks are coming in there parking on Summit. So, commercial vehicles, you know, we got a lot of commercial, like on my street, I had a guy that coming in with a dumpster on the back of his truck and parking there. You
That's
know,
another issue.
and I got another guy who has a trucking company further down the street, and it's a business.
So, yeah, we talked about that too, but it's the only issues, is that all of them?
Well, yeah,
The far as
I'm
parking.
finished.
Cause I-
Let's move on
we're
because,
coming up against
the only reason why I'm asking you is because committees, we can discuss, you got 9 council members and you're there all by yourself.
Here's other council members
And
here.
as she has the issue, she has 3 people over in the 3rd ward that she should be taking her problems to, but you're gonna handle that. I'm just not being smart.
Well, you know what?
I'm just bringing that up.
You weren't here
And
earlier.
I live here in the second
You were
ward.
not here earlier when I said, at the end of the day, I could not be accountable for anyone else. I am charged to help you guys out, so that's what's going to happen. So just, I can't, so let's
But you're
not do
there
that today.
and they're not.
That's not my concern.
But you're there
That's
and
not
8
my
others
concern. I
aren't.
cannot
Three
be
are
concerned
here.
with anyone.
I'm finished. I'm
Three are
done.
here.
You can't
I'm
be
done.
concerned with
There's
how
3 of
we-
them here, just so everyone
I get what
knows.
you're saying, so the ones that are not here, are they gonna?
Yeah, but
Sorry,
just,
sorry.
I don't want you to think that
Wait.
8 are absent, because 3 are definitely
We are
here.
here.
Okay,
We
so,
are here.
just and I'm not even one of them.
We need to get vigilant and take care of our business.
Wait. Let's get together.
Things wanna get done.
Yes.
It will never get done if we don't sit and come up with a meaningful plan.
But that's the thing that I'm
It's
listening
going
to
to get done.
everybody, you've been here over
Mr.
30
Murphy.
years, it's the same stuff.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes,
if you
sir.
don't mind, I want to make sure everybody had a chance.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
I
be,
really
I didn't mean to be that
apologize.
loud. I
There's people in
apologize.
here, like,
Joe,
in the back there.
no
That's right.
more.
I was just concerned about my driveway.
Yep.
I mean, we get to the point.
Oh, sorry, your name, sorry.
Oh, my name is Fonda. I live on 1124 Glen Line Road. My issue with the trash people. They don't even come down the driveway anymore. There's so many depots. I had to replace my tires several times. My neighbor as well. We had to replace. Now it's at the point where the trash truck doesn't even come down the driveway. They had the guys come down and pull the trash to the truck. I called enforcement. You know, I complained about that. I complained about street cleaning. When I first moved here, 19 years ago, they used to clean the street faithfully.
Yep.
I've been told,
What changed?
Just,
I've been told, oh,
part
we
of it.
don't have nobody to clean the street. Oh, the trunk is broken down. Okay, then I asked them when they were supposed to do it. They said April 1st. I've been working from home for 15 months. And I have not seen anyone come clean Lemonade Vine Road yet. Or, just like I said, the other issue with the trash. And the deep potholes. Now, my thing is, yes, we have crazy parking as well, but again, I park in the back, but I have to worry about my tires being punctured
yep.
to go off my tires. Now, granted, yes, we have the crack cabin, he's here. We have it, but again, there's a sign that says you can't park in the crack cabin lot. Now, he says he acknowledges and he tells the people. So I don't know.
If anybody have any issue with the crab cabin, just address me, I'll solve it. Like I said, me and Mr. Al working on together. Whenever he have party, I told him to move his client out of my lot so my client can park in my space. Most of the time they do, I have a sign and I'm already telling the DJs